Hello everybody, and this is a re-upload because I noticed that I had a couple things wrong with my previous Learning Welsh video. After all, it is my first time trying to teach it, and I skipped a few things in the matter of pronunciation that all of you might want to know more about, or rather have to in order to continue. So, enjoy and learn something new from this video. Alright everybody, hello, it's Learning Celtic Languages here, and today we will be doing our first lesson in Welsh. It appears I've become Sean Connery now. First and foremost, we must do pronunciation, because Welsh has some very odd letters and combinations of letters. Well, mostly just combinations of letters. Firstly, if you see a double L, now this is the most famous thing in Welsh, I guess you could say. The most famous feature of Welsh is its double L, which is pronounced as in llaw, which means lion. And it's a very odd sound, and it took me quite a while to actually get to pronounce it at all, because all the videos on how to do it was very confusing for me. I guess I just sort of figured it out one day, though, and realized that I was doing it right. It might take you a while before you can actually pronounce this sound, but what I would suggest doing is to press your tongue near the roof of your mouth while trying to make like a huh, 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 huh. So it already makes like a la sound just because your tongue is near the top of your mouth. And excuse me if you hear any breathing, my dog is sleeping right there. So, anyway, there's also quite a few other differences in Welsh as well. For example, there is the W, which is pronounced oo rather than wa. There is the Y, which is pronounced I rather than ya. And there is the R, which is a tapped R, which isn't a rolled R like Spanish, ra, or a Germanic R, I'll call it, like in English, ra, but rather a tapped R, ra. So a good example of combining some of these sounds would be dŵr, dŵr, which is Welsh for water, coming from Proto-Celtic meaning deep. And some other sounds that are different as well is we have I, which I believe is sometimes pronounced like an E and sometimes pronounced like an I, as well as U, which is sometimes like an oo and sometimes like an So do please take notes that double D makes a the sound, like in the word the, and TH makes a th sound as it does in English, just minus the, and take that over to double D. A couple of sounds I didn't mention in the previous upload include ch, which is what CH makes. It's sort of like saying the word loch in like a Scottish accent, or in Scottish Gaelic itself, or it's also found in German a lot too. So if you have any of those backgrounds in language, you might be able to pronounce this sound easier. Another sound that I forgot was RH, and this one I only learned recently how to properly pronounce, but it's pronounced sort of like the HR in Icelandic Kraven. So it's like a sort of, it's like the ch, except replace the L sound with sort of a mix between an R and a D. Hra, 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 and it's more of a rolled R though too. So yeah. Some other things you might want to note about Welsh is it is very different grammatically from English. First and foremost, it's a verb-subject-object language, meaning that the verb is at the beginning of the sentence. So, as in most Celtic languages, in fact, have this, if not all of them. I may be wrong about that. I think especially Gaulish, considering Gaulish, I believe sometimes had a subject, verb, object order like English. But a verb, subject, object order means you say the verb first, the subject of the sentence second, and the object of the sentence third. So, for example, our infamous sentence of he kicked the ball would become kicked he the ball. And this works in noun phrases too, meaning that the subject doesn't just have to be one word like boy, or it could be the boy. So you wouldn't say the kicked boy the ball. If you were going to say it correctly, it'd be kicked the boy the ball. If you were to say the boy kicked the ball, I know it's very confusing, but perhaps it'd be easier if I replace the first the with an a. Well, either way, there's a secondary note to take on Welsh, and that is consonant mutation. To put it simply, consonant mutation is more or less when the first consonant in a noun usually is altered slightly or changed to where it makes a different sound. It is a different consonant. This happens in a number of occasions in Welsh, and we will go into more detail on that in episode 2. But that's all for now this time, guys. I'll probably see you again in the next episode sometime this week. Except it's not over yet, because I have a couple announcements to make before this video ends. Firstly and foremost, I would like to know if you guys would be interested in a reconstructed version of Ancient Brythonic, and Ancient Brythonic being the ancestor language to Welsh, Cornish, Breton, and possibly Pictish, probably spoken by Boudica of the Eastony and Prastugus and all the other Brythonic warlords and heroes you hear from antiquity. I myself have reconstructed this version, which some of you might be a bit skeptical about, but I've done this by comparing the words that we do know in the ancient text, as well as sound changes that are common throughout all the modern Brythonic languages, and then applying those, as well as some grammatical changes, to Proto-Celtic, which I have a lot of documentation on that I've written down myself from different sources. And a second announcement is, would all of you like me to start doing poems like, sort of like what Leonard Alde English does, where I go into the many different Celtic languages and do each of the different gods from each of those separate Celtic cultures and sort of do an Indo-European style prayer to them. And a third announcement is I might not continue my Old Irish series just because Old Irish is so complicated. I need more time to learn it myself. But, and as a substitute, I could start teaching Primitive Irish, which is a lot closer to Proto-Celtic, and it's based mostly off of reconstructions made in the Old Irish book that I was using. I took many of the author's reconstructed Primitive Irish words and saw all the sound changes and grammatical changes that apply, and I'm currently working on a reconstructed Primitive Irish. Now, if all of you would love that, because you could write in Ogham and it'd be completely historically accurate, and I also might go into Ogham in a bit, but if you guys would like that, I would like to know too. I might start all these stuff up without you guys asking, because there's some people that would really want to, but it would really help if you guys just said, hey, I would like that, you know, it would give me more drive to do it, and it would just be easier. So, yeah, see you guys next time.